So let's continue to listen at Joy. She just compared what Liam Neeson said to someone who had to a actually bigoted and racist person today. So what's the assumption there? Is that Liam Neeson is racist. Although he said what he said, he claims that it happened 40 years ago. But according to Joy Behar, he's racist today. Okay? So people don't change. And was he racist back then is a question. And then what does it mean to be racist? The standard definition of racist is to think that your race is superior to another. You don't have to be racist to be hateful. He was definitely hateful in that moment. But did he think his race was superior to others? It's not clear. So let's continue to listen what else she has to say.
Movement that every thought that you have has to come out. You know, there's this whole movement that every thought that you have has to come out. You know, I think that it's such an ugly thing to be racist or to be bigoted or to have these type of feelings in yourself.
So there's a movement. She claims that he should be quiet. Okay. There's a movement of people who share their thoughts or share all their thoughts. And it is, let's see what she said.
Ugly thing to be racist has to come out. You know, I think that it's such an ugly thing to be racist or to be bigoted or to have these type of feelings in yourself. Keep them to yourself, you know.
And it is an ugly thing to be racist or bigoted and have these feelings in yourself. And so she says, keep them to yourself. Okay? And let's keep listening.
This morning I was walking to work here, and there was a dead rat in the street. A dead rat,
Yeah.
which my husband said, we're never walking on the street again. And I thought the reason that dead rat is there is because they're doing excavation. Usually rats are under the building and you don't see them. That's where these things belong, in my opinion. There's something has been ignited in this country and around the world that people just feel free to say these horrible things to each other. And I think it's better to keep your big mouth shut.
For the most part, I
So, did she dispute what he said? Did she even discuss what was the thing that was racist? Did she say how it showed that he thought he was superior to others? No. Did she discuss the specific, did she discuss in detail the racist thing that he said? No. Did she disagree with his point? She didn't even mention revenge is a primal way of thinking. She didn't even mention it. She just said she thought he should be quiet. Now what she did do was compare Liam Neeson's story of what motivated him in these movies from a personal experience that happened 40 years ago to a person who is racist today and says whatever racist thought comes out of their mind, out of their mouth, and out of their their thinking and their worldview. So she kind of just assumes that Liam Neeson's a racist and compares him with them. I mean, within the context of Liam Neeson, if you talk about racist, you're grouping him within that context. But then for her to come back and say, oh, well, he's not racist. I want to see if she's going to say that now. Whoopi says that. I want to.
But let me make an addendum. If it was a conversation, I'm not against conversations about race. I will go there. But I think it's difference between two Harvard professors or people who are intelligent people having conversation about the subject. That is instructive. But to just vent your venom and your hatred, and I will give him this, the guy was stressed out and probably in a very strange state of mind because of what happened to him. And, his wife died unexpectedly.
But that's not, it's not.
It's not.
Okay. So she just said she wanted to seem to be reasonable. And so she says that intelligent people can have conversations about race. Yep, that kind of makes it seem as if she's saying Liam Neeson is not intelligent. So what would be the conditions of intelligence? She did give one of them Harvard professors can discuss race. Does she not think there have been racist professors? So intelligence has nothing to do with the conversation, how you discuss a topic. Even a person who reasons poorly can still reason, and you can have a conversation. I think the conversation should be focused on one's reasoning, one's beliefs, and how they come to those beliefs. That's what we do here at Thought Decoder. Joy Behar, however she pronounces her name, it's ironic that she's just will make the point about how intelligent people can have conversations, because she's not using intelligence to analyze or critique Liam Neeson's interview. She's being more emotionally driven, saying she thinks he should be quiet. If he's quiet, then how can they have the conversation? They can't. Then she says that compares him to other racist people, which assumes that he's a racist. So how can you have a conversation with someone who is presumptuous about you, who thinks that you are guilty until proven innocent? And it seems like that's the time and place that we live in. No one listens to one another. Even if you disagree with me, if I disagree with you, I'm going to listen to you. I want to see if you're right. Right? So I want to see if your argument is correct, if it's sound. Right? So if I ignore you, then I don't want to be wrong. I don't want my opinion. I want the truth. And I think the further our society gets away from truth and goes more towards feeling, we're living in this weird and it's crazy. Everything is determined by feeling. Oh, I don't like what you said. It doesn't make me feel good. Therefore, you're a bigot. And we're just name calling. But let's continue to see what the other View members said.
Excuse.
I'm just making sure everybody realizes.
Yeah.
What he says happened is he came, let's be clear,
Right.
he came back and someone who was very, very dear to him told him that she had been raped.
Right.
He asked her a whole bunch of questions, and he also asked her what the guy looked like. He went out then
And the guy
in
was a
his
black
rage,
man.
and it was a black man, and in his rage and anger, he went out to try to start a fight. That was the story he told. Now, this wasn't last month. This wasn't a year ago. This is 30 years ago he's talking about.
Right.
So I hear what you're saying, but what he was doing was explaining where he got his
ability to act in these
what is
movies,
that?
the process.
What his process was. So he was not saying that. Listen, I'm just explaining because I want to make sure that it doesn't sound like you're calling him a racist.
So Whoopi picked up on Joy's points, which she didn't directly call him a racist, but she implied that he's a racist because she said people should keep, she said, we live in a society where people share their racist thoughts and their bigotry. Those people should shut their big mouths. And she thought Liam Neeson should shut his big mouth. So it would seem to imply that he was one of those people who were spewing their racist thoughts and beliefs. And again, she didn't deal with, deny or interact with any of the content of what Liam Neeson said. So good job, Whoopi, for actually catching that and being fair. And I think she's going to go on to say that she's known him for a long time, so that may be one of the reasons why.
No,
Which I don't
I'm
think
not
that's
talking
what you're
about him
doing.
in particular. I'm talking about people venting these prejudices that lie there dormantly, and then everybody feels it's open season on saying terrible things about each other.
But I actually
That's what I don't like.
I'm glad he didn't cancel.
So she says, well, I'm not talking about him specifically, but she's talking about people who are racist. She's just discussed. So if you're not talking about him, why bring up these other people? Because if you're not talking about him specifically, well, the question would be is, are the people you're talking about, do they have something in common with Liam Neeson? Otherwise, what you're saying is irrelevant to the actual question that was before them. So what were the parallels? You said they were racist. You said they said everything they thought about. Did you just think he was saying what he thought and not racist? If you thought that, then you would condemn yourself too, because you're saying what you think. And you're not racist. She didn't want to say, she thinks he's racist. She didn't want to say it because when Whoopi was talking, she was shaking her. She was, no. You know, so when people are so quick to disagree with you, it's just so crazy how people put their own beliefs, their own thoughts and values over truth. I don't care what I believe. If you can show me as false, I'm open. Refute me. Disprove something I believe. Because at the end of the day, what I believe, I want to believe what is true. Not what I think, but what's true. I want to think what's true. Just because I think it doesn't mean I accept it. I accept it because I believe it's true. So if you can show me that it's not true, then I would discard it. But we live in a society where people just want, they just love their own thoughts and themselves. I think it's arrogance. You know, we need humility to listen to the other person's perspective and not to make assumptions, even if we really, really think that this person is racist.
This morning on GMA because he easily could have and just shied away from it, and he didn't. And I'm glad he didn't cancel his appearance this morning on GMA because he easily could have and just shied away from it, and he didn't. And he addressed it, and I actually had a different reaction than you, Joy. I found what he said refreshing in a way and so not PC at a time when maybe the conversation doesn't need to be PC, because he admitted that he had problems. He admitted that he had thoughts that were bad, and that he regretted, and that he said he got help for.
Yeah.
And I think it's in these conversations, and Megan, you said this yesterday about just what the NFL's going through. It's the lack of these types of conversations that don't get us anywhere. And so seeing him out there on the morning show saying, I admit, I struggled, and I had these dark thoughts that you never want to admit publicly, but he was there admitting it and saying, I was wrong to feel that way.
Right.
I actually found that at a time we're in, to not be PC, I found that helpful and maybe can move the conversation to a better place.
See, I didn't want to start the conversation because I'm so confused by what I heard and what I saw, because he was talking about how he processes his acting and how he...
So the previous lady, I don't know her name. Let me go back.
Found that he was there I yesterday about just that he admitted that he in a way I haven't just shied away from it, and he didn't, and he.
Abby Huntsman. Abby Huntsman. She claims that it was refreshing to see Neeson not be PC. And to discuss what he learned from the experience. Okay, then we have the attorney lady.
He the positions. I not be.
He was talking about how he processes his acting and how he taps into this rage. And he taps into this rage by going back to this feeling that he had when he found out that a dear friend of his was raped by a black man, and how he went searching through the black areas of Ireland to seek out a black man to harm. And I understand very well, I think, how you would feel if a loved one was harmed, and how you would want to harm the person that did that to them, the person that did that. What I can't understand is how you would go out and seek a random person of the same race to harm. Because that, for me, feels like a modern day lynching. And that's what happened to black men in this country by white men somehow trying to be righteous about a white woman's virtue. And that really felt like my father could be walking down the street and someone would just attack him.
Yeah.
And for Liam to still be using that experience as his inspiration to tap into
and to talk about it while he's promoting a movie.
I didn't understand. I still don't understand.
I think it's what it is it's if he had acted on it.
Okay, so Sonny Holston makes 2 points. First point she makes is that she doesn't understand how Liam Neeson could project his hate towards the person who raped his friend to all black men. She doesn't understand that. But that seems to me easy to explain. What facts did Liam Neeson tell us that could explain his hatred towards black people, his generalized hatred towards black men? So the person who raped her was black. They didn't know who it was, but they knew that he was black. Notice Liam Neeson did not say black women. He wasn't looking for black women to kill. He was looking for black men. Why? Because which black man was it? Since he didn't know the particular black man, his hatred kind of spread to the category, the class of black men. So it was a question mark. And it was a bit of you feeling this animosity, this anger because of this injustice that was done to one of your friends, but you don't know where to direct it. And you're directing it based off the information you have, and that's that a black man did it. So even that claim is not personalized. It's a general statement, a black man. So your anger is geared towards the group because that's what he was told. A black man did it. So a black man, where are you? So he was looking for a black man and directing his anger towards that group. But what he came to realize was that was crazy. And he said it was crazy. and he went and got help, and he said his friend handled it really well. So that's how he could do that. That seems to make sense to me. He didn't know who it was, but he did know it was a black man. So his hatred became directed at the class of black man, or the group of black men that was in this area. The second point was a point I agree with. She said this seems like the motivation of many American lynchings of African Americans. African Americans. But I will note a difference. Many lynchings of African Americans were done without cause. Just because you looked at a white woman or said hello to a white woman. Think about Emmett Till, who claimed in the store that he had a white girlfriend where he was from, and they killed this little boy and murdered him in a gruesome fashion. So that seems to me to be different. It does seem similar, but then again, he didn't do it. He didn't act on the hate crime. So it is what it is. So, but let's continue.
I didn't understand. I still don't understand.
I think it's what it is it's if he had acted on it, it's a modern day hate crime.
Yeah.
And the definition of a hate crime is a criminal offense against a person or property motivated in whole or part by an offer's bias against a race, religion, disability, sexual orientation, ethnicity, gender, or gender identity. So that if he had acted on it, he would be a person who would commit Wyoming, which is a hate crime against a young gay. It's a really horrific, violent crime against he was gay. And it happened in 1998. And I think sometimes when we're walking around, we think that, as you are all pointing out very well, that racism and bigotry and homophobia is something of the past. And I think we're sitting here today realizing that maybe we haven't come as far culturally, not only in our country, he's not an American, and again, it's his country as well, and in Europe and England, and that I think it's important to have conversations.
Yeah.
I also think it's important to recognize it for what it is. We're speaking about Liam Neeson, and as far something of the past. And I think we're sitting here today realizing that maybe we haven't come as far culturally, not only in our country, he's not an American, and again, it's his country. We and a really huge shepherd person who had committed a hate crime, gender or gender bias against it is a criminal offense against if he had acted on it. It's
understand. I still don't understand.
I think it's what it is it's if he had acted on it, it's a modern day hate crime. And the definition of a hate crime is a criminal offense against a person or property motivated in whole or part by an offer's bias against a race, religion, disability, sexual orientation, ethnicity, gender, or gender identity. So that if he had acted on it, he would be a person who had committed a hate crime.
Right.
For some reason, I thought of Matthew Shepard in Laramie, Wyoming, which is a hate crime against a young gay. It's a really horrific, violent crime against a young man that is terribly graphic, and he was targeted because he was gay. And it happened in 1998. And I think sometimes when we're walking around, we think that, as you are all pointing out very well, that racism and bigotry and homophobia is something of the past. And I think we're sitting here today.
So Meghan McCain says this reminds her of some killing of a homosexual man or a gay man in 1998, and she says that this reminds her of that. But I see a clear difference if it was his orientation that was the motive for the murder. That's different from what Liam Neeson did, because what he wanted to do, because it wasn't the man's race that was the motivation for the murder. It was his friend's wrong that was done to her. It was her being a victim of a crime, and he wanted to take the law into his own hands and kill this black man whoever raped his friend. So that's a difference. He wasn't looking for just a black man to kill and his friend, before his friend was raped. So it was obviously motivated by the raper's friend and not by the race of the man. So the race just gave him a target. And the less he knew about the man, the more he can generalize his hatred, which is the point I was trying to make. So I hear what she's saying, but that's really not the same.
That maybe we haven't come as far culturally, not only in our country, he's not an American, and again, it's his country as well, and in Europe and England, and that I think it's important to have conversations.
Yeah.
I also think it's important to recognize it for what it is. We were speaking about Liam Neeson and his...
She said she thought it's important to have conversations. Great. Second part, she says she thinks that it's important to recognize it for what it is. That's a very vague statement. What is it? Maybe it refers to this situation, or Liam Neeson searching for a black man to kill him after his friend was raped. Maybe that's what it was, but recognize that for what it was. What was it if he didn't do it? Because even she admitted that it would have been a hate crime, but if he didn't do it, then it's not a crime. So let's recognize it for what it was. Nothing. And he's just telling us his motivation for the movie years later, after a bad experience that he had occurred.
comments, and I was saying that although he was seeking out to act on this, he did not commit a hate crime, and it is good that he recognizes the deep darkness and offense and bigotry that was inside him at that moment, and sought help and didn't, thank God, act on it.
That's right.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I'm not going to lie. There have been times when things have happened and I've gone directly to what someone is. Someone.
Okay, so Whoopi is now, her name is so funny, Whoopi. But Miss Goldberg is now talking. I think this is a friend, and she's going to say later that she's known him for a long time. And she says that there have been times something has happened, had a bad experience, and she sees who is the perpetrator of that experience and directs her anger at the class or the group or the category to which that perpetrator belongs. And it's simply because you don't have knowledge about this perpetrator. If something happened, if somebody cuts you off, you don't know who that person is. You just have the data that's observable. Oh, this is a Hispanic person who's driving. Then you relate, then you take your general impressions, your general observations, and you compare that to your general knowledge of that group, right? And this is how some stereotypes are created. This is probably how racist beliefs and behavior and attitudes are created, because you don't, from that point on, you become on your guard against that group of people. You don't interact with that group of people, and every time you do, it's bad. So that's how racist thoughts and beliefs form and stereotypes form. Me, I'm a Christian myself, so I see it as a product of the sinful nature in human beings being fallen from God. God is infinite, man is finite. We are temporal creatures and selfish creatures who look after ourselves. So all of our emotions, many of them are self-serving. I'm mad at you because now I feel rage and I want to pay you back for causing me discomfort. So that's just what it means to be human and what it means to have flesh. But let's continue.
Whether you're driving a car and you look like, well, in the old days when I could still drive, if you look like somebody that shouldn't have been driving, I cussed you out as that person. People walk around sometimes with rage. That's what happens. Is he a bigot? No, I've known him a pretty long time. I think I would have recognized. I've been around a lot of real bigots. So I can say this man is not one. But let's remember back, 1984. Do you remember Bernard Getz?
Of course.
People were calling the police to congratulate the subway vigilante.
Yes.
So let us not forget that we we've seen this in other people and perhaps in ourselves.
Yeah.
So you can't be surprised that somebody whose loved one is attacked, is angry and wants to go out and attack.
Yeah.
What he did go on to say, which we didn't show you on GMA, is that he realized that it was too dark for him. He went and got himself help, and he's sort of found himself talking about this in a way that he was surprised to find, because it wasn't something that he thought, well, this is the middle of the conversation. He told this story to someone, and it's in the thing. So
it has provoked a conversation at this table and in a lot of
Absolutely.
places. I just want to reiterate that I believe
So now she's going to try to come back and clean up some of the things that she said.
in constructive conversations about race at all times. I just don't think people should spew. That's my issue. There's a reason why people don't say those things in front of me, because they know what.
So what things? Racist things? So you still calling him a racist? And you just telling him if he's a racist, just be quiet and don't talk in front of you. That makes no sense.
I do not like that. I will not go there. And so, good, keep quiet. I don't want to hear it. That's where I'm at.
well, if someone comes up to you and says something that's kind of off, but what do you do if you did something in your past? What do you do? If you say, here, this is...
Yep. So that's Liam Neeson. Let's just review. So Liam Neeson, again, he said his friend was raped and told him that a black person did it. He walked around the city for like a week looking for a black person so that he could kill him. He thought it was awful and later learned his lesson. The lesson was that revenge is a primal way of thinking. Also, violence just produces more of the same. And the interviewer had asked him the question, where did he get his inspiration from? Because, man, you good. How do you do this? So he channels that dark place where he was basically to do these roles in these movies. Whoopi asked the panel, how did you feel? Joy Behar thought that he should be quiet, thought that intelligent people should talk about race, which is offensive. Abby Huntsman, she thought it was refreshing that he wasn't being PC and just discussing, like, just being real. You know, PC is so fake. Sonny Hostin thought that she didn't understand how he would project his hate to a race and not to the person. Well, when you're angry, you're almost out of your mind. You don't think that clearly. Secondly, this seems like the motivation of many American lynchings of African Americans. No, because if that was the motivation, then you would have to say that the American lynchings, African American lynchings, were provoked because some black person had did some crime. All of them, and I know of many cases that Mr. Brian Stevenson's with the Justice Initiative, Equal Justice Initiative, documents that so many people were just killed because they were just walking down the street. Here's a black man. We angry at black people. Let's kill this man. So that was that. And Meghan McCain said this would have been a hate crime. Then she said it was like some killing of a gay man in 1998 for being gay, which we said that it was nothing like that because that guy who was gay was killed because he was gay, but Liam Neeson would have wanted to kill somebody because of what a black man had did to his friend, which was unjust. So it was injustice that motivated Liam Neeson, and it was just the person's orientation that motivated the gay man's murder. Okay, thank you for your time. Thank you for tuning in. Share this video. I want to kind of break up some of the medias and this whole movement of irrationality and emotionality, complete emotionality, just all about how you feel. Feelings are very important and valuable. They can motivate us to to study. They can motivate us to engage. They can motivate us to focus. They can even motivate us to argue rationally. But when, like Plato said in the Republic, when the passions are controlling the city, then everything is going to fall apart. We need reason to be in the driver's seat, and that's that. Thank you for your time. Have a great evening.